All that means tonight on ESPN at 8 Eastern, one of the best NFL series gets renewed. Two up-tempo clubs throughout the years, Miami and San Diego, renew acquaintances here at the Murph on ESPN. If they are anywhere close to that 1981 overtime playoff game, the game tonight will be great. Heck, if they're anywhere close to last year's playoffs, well, Miami led 21-6 at the half, but Stan Humphries hit Mark Shea with 35 seconds left. Both survived a last-second missed field goal to win 22-21. If it's like that, tonight will be great. Last year, Dan Marino at tight end Keith Jackson for 2 touchdowns, 8 times overall. Today he gets Eric Green back at tight end. Chargers beware. And, of course, you must always beware of Dan Marino, especially with that bevy of receivers. And as we go back to Joe Theismann, Joe, we discussed this at rehearsal earlier this morning. Even if I'm a receiver, Marino is dangerous, isn't he?
He really is, Chris. You know, because just like Eric Green, you have that big body and you can position yourself around those small defensive backs. And I know you have the great hands because we used to work out together in Hawaii. The big thing about Marino, though, is not necessarily the fact that he can throw the ball down the field. We know that. It's not his fiery tempo. We've seen that. The big thing about Dan Marino is just how healthy is he? That's a question I asked him, and this was his answer.
My body has felt really good. My arm has felt good throughout my whole career. The knee problem I had against Indianapolis was something that, you know, they wanted to take care of. I probably could have kept playing, but they wanted to take care of it then, so it wouldn't be a problem later in the year. And you know, things like the hip or whatever it is, you know, when you get bumps and bruises, that's going to happen. So I find that earlier in the week I don't recover as well, but by the end of the week I feel pretty good.
What happened to the hip?
There was a free blitzer, and I threw the ball away. And I was kind of off balance from another hit, and a defensive back from Indianapolis kind of threw me to the ground, and his weight and all my weight came right down on the hip. It felt okay during the game, then you know how it is. That night and the next morning it just blew up, and I had to get it drained. There was a lot of blood, and it was a process that took about 10 days to really get it back where, you know, I could start to move around a little bit.
Do you yell at people? And why?
You know, I just get excited playing, and I'm not necessarily yelling at anyone. And when I get mad or it looks like I'm mad or yelling on something, a lot of times it's frustration about what I'm doing or my decision making or just the game in general, the flow of the game, whatever it may be. I used to yell and scream a lot at players and argue years ago. Not as much anymore.
Anybody in particular?
Well, Duper and Clayton and I, we used to get into some good yelling and some good arguments occasionally. But, you know, it was all, we all had the same common goal, and that was winning.
But a source close to Marino told me that the Dolphins' offer was an insult to someone who has done so much for this franchise.
It's like the press for the last 2 months knew more about my contract than I did. You know, I knew that the Dolphins talked to me about, you know, wanting to do something. I want to do something. I want to end my career as a Dolphin, and I want to, you know, do whatever I can to help the team under the, you know, the financial circumstances of the league now with the salary cap and all. I want to do whatever that is. And it just didn't work out at that time, and it's something that I'm not going to concern myself with now, and it'll take care of itself when the time comes.
Are you tired at this point of fielding the questions regarding Tarkenton's records? Would you like to just accomplish it, or is it sort of neat?
Yeah, it's neat, and I'm enjoying it, and I'd like to, you know, I've never been in my career halfway through the season. I've only have 8 touchdowns, you know, so it's like I want to achieve these things, and I want to enjoy the moment. I want to accomplish them, and then I want them to be over, and I want to concentrate on what I'm doing, which I am. But, you know, it's just sitting there, and it's right out there. When it happens, it happens.
I don't think there's any question that we get a chance tonight to see one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and arguably could be the greatest of all time. But the thing that Irving Fryer told me last night I thought was probably the best thing I ever heard. Dan Marino tells his players, if I don't throw, we don't go. Last year in this ball game against San Diego, the Dolphins amassed a total of 26 yards running the football. The Chargers had over 200. I think the case for the Dolphins, Boomer or Sterling, is going to be, if Dan doesn't throw, they won't go.
Well, San Diego can help that out a little bit. I was going to ask you, Joe, have you seen Chris Mims near you anywhere? Because he hasn't been near the quarterbacks this season. He had 11 sacks last year. He doesn't have any now. And he's got to be one of the keys to help him take some pressure off of Leslie O'Neal. So, Tommy, I think defense the name of this game?
Well, something that the Dolphins have seen little of. This is a team that early in the season made plays. The first 3 games, they had 9 interceptions. The last 5, they have 1. That goes directly to the pressure put on by the defensive line. Jeff Cross has no sacks this year. And if the Dolphins don't pressure Stan Humphries, I think that the recipe is a large dose of Natron Means, a little amount of Ronnie Harmon with the short passes until they come up, and then a very large cupful of Jefferson and Martin.
Sure, your child has nothing on you, Tom. I think, you know, they had 478 yards rushing in that game last year, San Diego. They had the ball over 39 minutes. I think a big dose of Natron Means, and then the up top. Well, we'll see how it unfurls. Should be an outstanding game. Marino, Seau, Theismann, Patrick, Malone. Doesn't get any better than that. Dolphins, Bulls. 8 Eastern, 5 on the West Coast, 3 in Hawaii. We'll be back.